It is Good News Friday, and there's nobody better to share a good news show than Larry Goldberg. Larry, you're in probably one of the most beautiful places on earth right now.
I
You're
am.
you're in Santa Barbara, California. Did,
Yep,
did you have a chance to see Boomer Mama? Boomer
I
Mama.
did. We had dinner last night. What a pleasant evening. I saw Boomer Mama and Boomer Papa, who
Boomer
is
Mama too.
just a darling guy, just a fantastic guy. Very, very impressive person, and a family friend. And I'm actually, yep, it's a wonderful place, beautiful restaurant we were at, beautiful day today. The clouds are low over the mountains. They're scraping the top of the mountains, but that happened yesterday as well. But I think they'll clear above the mountains as they did yesterday afternoon. So, just another day in
Just
paradise.
another day in paradise. That's right. Well, so one of the things we definitely want to talk about first in terms of good news, I mean, theoretically, it's good news for Tesla, and that is the United Auto Workers striking against the big three, so-called big three automakers, US automakers. So the strike is on. The two sides seem far apart, with United Auto Workers maybe coming down to a 35% raise over the 4 years, and the unions, and the automakers currently around 20%, and that doesn't even get down to some of their wild and crazy requests like getting to 32-hour work weeks. So anyway, what have you been thinking about all that strikes stuff there, Larry?
Well, I don't consider it good news for anybody. I think strikes are bad for the country. They're bad for the automakers. They're bad for the union workers, and they're bad for Tesla. That's my view. I think strikes in general, in circumstances such as we're in right now, don't make sense at all. Now, some strikes do make sense when workers are oppressed, when management is out of bounds, or when they don't treat their people right, then a strike is absolutely warranted. But a strike in this economy, with the automakers facing the challenges that they're facing right now, and in the conditions that they're in, is really, really wrong.
Yeah,
Now,
so the president of the United States said this morning that he thinks that the automakers have been making record profits, and they haven't been sharing those record profits with the members of the union. And there's no question, I think, that the automakers are more than happy to give normal kinds of wage increases given the inflation that took place in the last half of the contract. So they're already at 20% over 4 years, which could be a pretty good raise if inflation comes back down to 2%.
yeah, but I think it goes beyond that. Firstly, perhaps everybody's forgetting, but in 2008, when the federal government rescued, and Joe Biden was part of that government, when the federal government rescued Chrysler and GM, they granted the unions, the same union that's striking now, a very big piece, a very big shareholding in both GM and Chrysler. I don't know what's happened to those shares and to whose pockets they've fallen, but one would expect the unions to participate in the profits of the organization in that manner.
They do.
Now,
They do participate. They get bonuses.
and that's my whole point. Right. That's how you participate in the profits.
Right.
Now, when it comes to their demands, let me stay upfront that, in my view, worker salaries should, at the minimum, track with inflation, in my view, at the minimum, and definitely reward workers for productivity, both the productivity that the company invests in terms of improved machinery, improved methods, and improved designs, but also in improved worker productivity. All of that workers should participate in.
Okay.
But, comes the but. The problem is that the two issues have become completely separated. The workers really are not participating in any of that because not much of that is happening. And why not? Because the biggest problem of unionized workforces in auto manufacturing today is not the wage demands, not the increase in wages, not any of that, or the pensions or the whatever. It is the rules, the work rules that absolutely militate against improvements in productivity, improvements in engineering. You know, at Tesla, they famously make changes to the product and to the process in flight.
Yes.
They will change a production method. They will change a part, you know, on a daily basis. Well, maybe not on a daily basis, but in theory, it could be on a daily basis. In GM and Ford and Stellantis, those changes can only take place after extensive negotiations with the union and probably against demands that the union get something in return. And once those work rules have been made, they can't ever be changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the biggest problem for these traditional automakers, traditional US automakers, is not the wages. It is the work rules.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And those work rules are what are militating against any success for these people. So, yeah, I think that the strike is, I'm strongly opposed to the strike. I'm strongly opposed to Joe Biden's take on the strike. Our president has lost his knowledge of what his administration, the administration in which he was the vice president, actually did for the union in the GM and the Stellantis and Chrysler rescue. But the real problem, in summary, is not the wages, it is the work rules.
Right. So what happens if this, well, so if we want to stand back for a second and be not take into consideration the harm that any strike does to the economy, to the workers, to the company, but just say in a very pragmatic way, whether or not this is a benefit to Tesla, meaning, you know, that it will actually cause there's a number of headlines today saying, oh, this will benefit Tesla. And some are saying, well, it won't benefit Tesla if it's a 3-day strike. My question is, does it benefit Tesla anyway? Can they ramp up any more production than they are? I mean, in the short term, at least, let's call it, or the medium term, could they produce more cars if they wanted to in order to fill the void that these other companies might create?
Well, I did announce breaking news.
Breaking news.
In my Twitter account, today, my X account today. And the breaking news is that I estimate that Tesla delivered their 5 millionth car today.
Oh, okay. All right.
Now, I may be out a day or two or even a week, who knows? But I decided today would be the day. 5 millionth car. You heard it here first, folks.
There you go.
Look, it's possible that it could, you know, have some impact in the short term, but in the long term, it's going to have a very dramatic impact. This is just another nail in that coffin that they're building for the American auto manufacturers. Look, American auto manufacturers dominated the world post-war, dominated the world. I think they may have sold, a car somewhere in the United States in the 60s that was not made in America. It's possible, but it wasn't many.
There was a few British cars driving around,
Maybe.
Jaguars and MGs and Triumphs and
yeah. So specialty cars, yeah. I mean, great. But today, if you see a sedan on the road or you see a, hatchback on the road, for the most part, you're going to be seeing a Japanese car, maybe a German car.
South Korean.
And a Korean car. Chance of seeing an American car, 1 in 20, 1 in 10. Now, that doesn't happen by itself. First the Japanese arrived, and then the Europeans arrived, and then the Koreans arrived. And what was the Americans' response? Strike, wages, work rules. By the way, it happened to the British
as well. Yes.
Yeah.
And you don't have, the American company said, look, we can make money on cars that are over 35,000, but we can't make money on cars under 35,000. Well, that obviously is, part of it is going to be possibly the cost of the actual infrastructure that you have in the United States. But by and large, it's going to be the work rules. Yeah.
Toyota and GM famously built an auto plant in Fremont, California, that was going to show the way forward. They made a crappy little car, excuse my language. They made a crappy little car. It sold very little. When 2008 came, they both abandoned what was obviously a sham exercise. Neither of them had their heart in it. It was sham from the beginning, and then 2008 put the kibosh on it. The same plant, the same workers. That plant today is one of the most productive plants in the world, only to be surpassed by Shanghai, Tesla Shanghai. It's one of those productive plants in the world, despite the fact that it was very poorly designed. Very poorly designed. And they're struggling to reconfigure it in a way that actually can lend itself to Tesla's mode of manufacturing. But the problem was clearly that the workforce was not motivated and was not interested. And I don't blame management, and I don't blame the union. I blame the system that has the union and management at each other's throats, really, to the detriment of the firm, of the company, and to the detriment of the public, and to the detriment of American industry in general.
Yeah. So if we turn a page and we talk about my favorite subject, at least this last week or so, my favorite subject, and that is, and I think the best news of the week is that the narrative on Tesla switched.
Yes.
We had Elon Musk starting 2 months ago, 3 months ago, saying this is an AI company. Then we had him do the drive around in Palo Alto. Then we had the Morgan Stanley paper that came out. And now we have the debate everywhere, all over the news. People are debating, well, is it really still a car company or is it an AI company? What is it? And that, to me, is the best news of the week, is that debate is taking place, because once you've got the debate, you've won.
You're absolutely right. And I will be the first to admit that I was wrong.
Oh, no.
That's going
to be the headline on the thumbnail.
I didn't think this was going to happen. I was very negative. I saw the stock price being, depressed all the way through until we saw, the actual Cybertruck driving out with a customer in it. And certainly the conversation that was taking place in the community, in the Tesla community, was all about, Tesla being an AI company and what's happening with the new clusters and Dojo and V12 and all that opportunity. And I was very skeptical. I said, guys, this is not, it's not going to move the needle until Adam Jonas actually saw the light and put it on paper. And I haven't digested it all. I had dinner last night with Tesla Boomer Mama, and she said, it's a 66-page document. I'm poring over every page twice. There's a huge amount in there. And there is. I mean, I've scanned the document. There's a lot in there. I think we have to pay attention, but the market is paying attention. And the music changed. Now, do I expect the market to go back down a little bit on Tesla stock? Yes, I do.
I think we're always going to see, this kind of thing going on. In fact, I was a little surprised to see it down today, except that the NASDAQ was down big today.
Yeah.
So therefore, Tesla being up would have been a little shocking.
Yeah, I mean, these swings and roundabouts are not really pertinent to, where I think we're going. I think we're going, in the long term, we're going up. That's my personal view. It's not investment advice.
Of course.
And I think it's going up very significantly. Oh my gosh, there's a brilliant hawk flying past the window as I speak. Wow. Yeah, I'm fully expecting, in the medium term, with the advent of the Cybertruck, a significant bump in the share price. But I think we're going to go through some significant down days, particularly with third quarter production. I think third quarter production is going to disappoint. I think the revenue and margins are not going to be that great. And so I think there's still a down cycle to get through. And then, so it's quite clear we're not going to see the Cybertruck deliveries in September, but probably in October. And so I think that's going to be very, very exciting news. And I think that is what everybody loves calling a catalyst.
Yes.
Not many, and it doesn't happen very often, and not by much, but I think that's going to be a catalyst. The fact that Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and now there are a few others have re-rated the stock, it's a good thing. But, those same guys down-rated the stock just 2 months ago. So, I take it all with a pinch of salt. And I don't think what's happening in the stock now is kind of a long-term sticker.
So you and I spent a minute talking about this the other day, but I'd like to dig into it a little deeper. I think
Are we frozen?
Oh, are we? We might be.